Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. I am Bryce Lockridge, your host of the show. Guys, today I'm going to be giving you guys my bold predictions for the 2022 fantasy football season. And I am going to start with the first thing on my list, and that is Amari Cooper being a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy if Deshaun Watson plays a full season. Now, a lot of people are going to disagree with me here, but I'm not worried about it. Look, Amari Cooper is one of the most talented wide receivers in this league. His route running abilities are second to none. He's got great speed, size, power, athleticism, everything. This dude has all the makings of a true wide receiver one. He's just never really been in the right offensive situation to be that guy. I mean, when he was on the Raiders, the offense was very inconsistent. When he was on the Cowboys, he had ridiculous target share competition. Now, he has no target share competition. He gets to be the clear-cut wide receiver one on the team. He is going to receive a ridiculous target share on this team, somewhere between possibly 28 and 30%. This is a freakish target share. He has awesome run after the catch abilities, even though he's slightly later in his career. I mean, he's still young, though. I mean, he's 27 years old, and he is going to be very successful in fantasy this season. Being on a very high-scoring Browns offense, the touchdown upside is through the roof. And look for Amari Cooper to have a monster breakout season with Deshaun Watson as his quarterback. He's going to be a top 5 wide receiver in fantasy. Next thing on my list that I have here is Tony Pollard being the second highest scoring handcuff / backup running back in the NFL. Now, obviously, Kareem Hunt is number 1 on my list here. I mean, Kareem Hunt is going to be the highest scoring backup running back like he is every year as long as he stays healthy. But after that, it's going to be Tony Pollard. Guys, look, Ezekiel Elliott has so much tread on the tires, more so than any starting running back in the NFL. Ezekiel's overall usage so far is through the roof. The fact that he's still a starting running back and a quote-unquote workhorse running back in the NFL is absolutely insane. This dude has been used so much, and he's probably about to break. I hate to say it, but that's how it works for running backs. They get to a certain point where they just don't have any juice left, and they either go down with an injury or their efficiency falls off a cliff, and some other running back ends up coming in and taking over. Tony Pollard is the younger, fresher legs. He's the faster, more elusive back. He is going to come in and take over the backfield at some point. I know that Zeke still has a monster contract, but if the Cowboys want to win games, Tony Pollard needs to go ahead and take over this backfield. And for that reason, I think he's going to be the second highest handcuff / backup running back in the league. And if Zeke does go down for an injury, look for Tony Pollard to have a monster fantasy season and be a top 5 running back in fantasy football. Next on my list is going to be Aaron Jones having the biggest bounce back as far as fantasy points per game. Now, I've talked about this a lot this offseason. Now that Devontae Adams is gone, Aaron Jones's red zone target share is going to go up. His carries within the red zone, his touchdowns within the red zone, his overall reception count, his yards per target. All of these things are going to go up significantly now that Devontae Adams is gone. When you look at his career on the Packers in games where Devontae Adams doesn't play, he was easily the best running back in all of fantasy football because his fantasy points per game were ridiculous when Devontae Adams didn't play. And last year, if you look at the one game where Devontae Adams was out and Aaron Jones played, it was the one game where Aaron Jones had double-digit targets out of the backfield. This dude is going to be a ridiculous target hog now that Devontae Adams is not on the team. And look for him to have a monster bounce-back season. I see the fantasy points per game differential being larger with Aaron Jones than it is with any other player. This is going to be the biggest bounce-back player in all of fantasy football. Next thing on my list is Mike Williams being the highest scoring wide receiver 2 on a NFL team. I mean, obviously we've got T. Higgins and some other guys that are very good wide receiver 2 options for their team, but I think that Mike Williams is going to be the highest scoring second wide receiver option on any team in the NFL. And a big reason for this is because I'm just so sold on this Chargers offense. I mean, they are very, very good. I think that they have a very good chance of being the highest scoring offense in the NFL this year. And with that being said, we had a little bit of a taste last season as to how good Mike Williams can be and how high of a weekly ceiling he presents. He's a guy who could come out and give you 150-plus receiving yards in multiple touchdowns on any given week. So the ceiling is ridiculously high. He's obviously a little bit of a boom or bust, not as reliable as Keenan Allen. That's why Keenan Allen is always ranked ahead of him. But he does have the higher ceiling. On a week-to-week basis, he has the higher ceiling than Keenan Allen. And with that being said, and considering the fact that he dropped a lot of passes in the red zone last year, we know that drops are kind of a volatile statistic. It's not something that usually continues and is a pattern from season to season. That means he's probably going to drop less passes in the red zone this coming season. Therefore, he has a very good chance to eclipse double-digit touchdowns. I believe that he only had 9 last year. Considering the fact that he dropped all those passes, look for that number to go up. He's probably going to have double-digit touchdowns. He has a very, very good chance. I would even say that it's likely that he has over 1,000 receiving yards. Look for this guy to be the best wide receiver 2 option on any NFL team. Next player on my list is going to be, this one's going to make people mad, but look, Lamar Jackson is going to bust this year, guys. This is a guy who relies very heavily on running the ball, and obviously he's one of the best athletes in the entire NFL. He might be more talented at rushing the football than almost any running back in the league, and I understand that, but these are the kind of players that as they progress in their career, they have to start slowing down a little bit. I mean, Lamar Jackson on every season from now through the rest of his career is going to rush the ball less and less efficiently as his career goes on. And a big reason for this is because the body can only take so much wear and tear. And as much as he's run the ball already in his career, the rushing has to start to slow down at least a little bit as far as its efficiency and as far as the amount of times that he rushes the ball and his run play percentage. On top of that, look, they don't really have anyone to pass the ball to. I mean, Mark Andrews is their best receiving option. They don't have a true wide receiver 1. Rashad Bateman is now the best wide receiver on the team. I'm just not confident in the overall efficiency of this offense, and because of that, I don't trust Lamar Jackson to have a good fantasy season. When teams are stacking the box to stop Lamar Jackson from running the ball, and they know that that is the biggest weapon that the offense presents, they're going to game plan to stop Lamar Jackson from running all over them. Yes, he's still going to bust out some huge plays with his legs, but this offense is now very one-dimensional, and because of this, I don't like his rushing upside as much as I normally do. The passing upside is not there because they don't have any legit wide receivers, so I don't like this offense this year, and Lamar Jackson's going to bust. Next player on my list, or next thing I have here on my bold predictions is that Trey Lance is going to be a top 7 quarterback in fantasy. Now, he is being drafted as like the quarterback 15 right now, so he's way down there on the list of quarterbacks, but this is just because we haven't seen a lot of him yet. Look, we know he's got a good arm. He's got a lot of good receiving options in George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel. He's got a ton of stud pass catchers to throw the ball to. We know that he presents awesome rushing upside. This is a team that is going to definitely utilize his legs and let him run the ball, and he's probably going to run the ball very successfully. And so, he's going to get you some rushing touchdowns. He's going to have huge rushing weeks. He's going to have weeks where he passes for over 300 yards. He's going to have weeks where he legitimately has the chance to have 100 yards rushing and 300 passing yards in the same week. There are very few quarterbacks that fit that criteria that could have both of those things happen in the same week. So I love Trey Lance's weekly upside, and I see him being a top 7 quarterback in fantasy this year. Next and last thing I have on my list here is Mike Evans being a top 3 wide receiver in all of fantasy football. Now, obviously, that's a bold statement. There's a lot of really good wide receivers in the NFL, but look, Mike Evans now has a higher weekly floor than he ever has in his career. I mean, no Rob Gronkowski as of now. A hobbled Chris Godwin that we don't even know is going to be healthy to start the season and most likely isn't going to be healthy to start the season. No more Antonio Brown. Look, this guy is going to have a higher target share percentage than he ever has in his Tampa Bay career. Couple that with the fact that he's playing with the best quarterback that he's ever had in his career, and I don't think that Tom Brady's going to slow down anytime soon. And so with that being the case, his floor-ceiling combination is absolutely ridiculous. And I think that Mike Evans is going to be a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy this year. I mean, look, this is a guy who's had over 1,000 receiving yards every single season since being in the NFL, and that's with being an extremely low floor player that made up for that by having a massively high ceiling. Now he has still that massively high ceiling, potentially a higher ceiling than he ever has, and now he has easily the highest floor he's ever had because he has less target share competition and a better quarterback, in Tom Brady. So the touchdown upside is through the roof. Look for him to eclipse double-digit touchdowns easily. It's not even a question in my mind that he will eclipse double-digit touchdowns for the 3rd season in a row. He's going to have another 1,000 receiving yard season. The floor-ceiling combination is better than it ever has been for Mike Evans. Look for him to be a top 3 wide receiver in fantasy football this year. All right, guys, appreciate you tuning into the video. I'll catch you later.